Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk Leadership podcast, the Culture Edit Reloaded. I'm Sandra Patel, founder and CEO of Transition Partners. This season, I'm flying solo as I sit down with international leaders to discuss their leadership journeys and how they have embedded a thriving and positive culture. Hello and welcome back to the Let's Talk Leadership podcast, the Culture Edit. My name is Sandra Patel and I'm CEO at Transition Partners, and I'm really delighted today to be recording with Greg, the CTO at Clue. Hi Greg, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Sandra, and thank you very much for an opportunity of having me in your podcast.
Oh, you're welcome. I've been really looking forward to it. So it'd be really good initially, Greg, if you could tell our listeners a bit more about your background and your journey into leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I started with all things related technology back in 1999 when I was in school. So I was helping my classmates with some coding tasks.
Oh, really?
And also I think, like a first website I built was back in previous millennia.
Wow.
Then, professionally I started working on websites in 2004. And back then it was like a one-man show. So you have to be like everything: developer, designer, project manager, and like negotiating contract and stuff like that. And I think that in a way shaped or like defined me as or like my career. So I was basically in the management leadership positions from very early days, and then I grew together with like the size of the companies I was joining. So I think my first team was just team of 2 people. Then it was like team of 5, team of 10, team of like 20. Like now I'm leading a team of like approximately 50, 60 people at Clue.
Wow. So. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Fantastic. Brilliant. And so, how many years altogether leadership experience would you say you have?
So I would count from 2012, I think. So it would be like 11 years of management experience leading engineers.
Yeah, fantastic. And that's always been engineering teams?
Yes, mostly. Like currently at Clue, I have very special role. So I manage engineering data, which is kind of quite common for the CTO, but also I am responsible for the customer support team, which is very interesting. And I think it helps product development a lot to bring these 2 departments together and ensure that communication flows seamlessly between those 2.
Yeah, cool, fantastic, brilliant. Oh, well, it's 11 years worth of leadership experience, so I'm looking forward to hearing more about that and what's worked well for you. Fantastic. So it'd be really good to just kind of touch more now around the cultural side. What would you, how would you say that your culture has evolved over the years, particularly within Clue? It's like the largest team that you've been responsible for, so I think that'd be really interesting to see how you've kind of evolved that over time to now managing so much of a larger team, and how you can, how you've retained that culture within the business.
I think currently in terms of like, is it like about my personal culture or like a culture of the company in general? So like what?
Culture of the company and how you, how you've kind of how you've your style has added value to developing and building that culture.
I think currently we have very collaborative culture, and like we keep emphasizing it like over and over again. So we encourage people to discuss whatever challenges they have, like in a wider groups, to not keep certain problems hidden from the outside, so asking everyone to that only together, only by collaboration, we can actually bring a lot of value to our customers faster. I think that evolved over time. I'm with Clue. When I started, I think there
Yeah.
was a bit more silos than now. Now I would say like we almost at the level when everyone is not afraid of like talking to each other, bringing the challenges to the table for wider discussion. That was the
Yeah.
evolution of culture.
And what I think of the right word, like how did you achieve that? What do you think you've done differently? Because it's quite difficult. There's a lot of organisations that don't have that culture and they strive towards having that culture, but I think it can be really, really difficult. It's being in that open space where you're comfortable in speaking out and knowing that it's going to be received positively can be quite difficult.
Absolutely, yes. And one of the key elements here is to be an example, to have to show the people that there is nothing to be worried about if some problem bubbles up. That's rather when it's
Yeah.
kind of getting swiped under the carpet, then it just getting bigger and all the problems accumulate and result in way bigger kind of explosive problem than if it's started, like if collaboration started earlier. So another thing is, I mean, we call it like repetition is the key to adult learning. So apart from showing something, you also need to repeat and keep emphasizing of the importance
Yeah.
of this collaboration. So it's like you shouldn't really think that people everyone will figure it out by themselves or they will remember it. But if you're consistently communicating the way you want people to work together and the way you want your culture to be, then I think it gets kind of remembered and considered and every time they
Yeah.
face next
Yeah, I
challenge.
agree. Like, yeah, I agree. And the thing, and people, situations and journeys change over time as well, don't they? So I do
Yeah.
think that's really important. Is that that consistency and continue to reinforce. That you do have that open and collaborative culture, which is amazing. So what would you say your company's like approach is at Clue, like your approach to team building and career development within the business?
Um, yeah, I would probably start with career development. Thanks for your question. It's really interesting. Like one of the first things I was impressed at Clue when I started, that for the
Yeah.
size or the state of the company, how well defined career development plans were or are. So we have leveling system in place. A lot of effort from our people team was put into, actually not just people team and all the managers we have at Clue was put into building the system that could be applied for a variety of roles and variety of professional skill sets. So we have seven levels with certain criteria and like qualities per each level. We do biannual performance evaluations when basically the people manager sits, like it's more like a 360 feedback,
Yeah.
which results in certain recommendations or promotions and so on. We also have two tracks, so the specialist track and the manager track. At certain points, you can branch into like becoming a lead and or a manager. And what I think different, like not to every other company, but to some, is that we have this branching rather earlier. So usually it
Right.
starts like say after the senior level. Like we feel that
Yeah.
like a hard skills of intermediate someone specialist is good enough to allow them to progress as a leader, as a manager, because usually they face this, oh, I definitely need to jump one step up in my hard skills to become a manager, but I didn't really have a passion for it. But I rather like have like a passion for people or like processes and so on. So I think we like
Yeah.
managed to open this door earlier for them in career development.
Yeah.
In terms of team building, we have, so first of all, we encourage people to have certain activities together. Like we, apart from, like regular lunches, or like last week we went to movie all together. So we also
Oh,
have team,
that's
yeah.
unusual, that.
Huh?
Did you say you went to the movies?
Yeah, I went to the movies, like as a team.
Yeah, I was just saying that's unusual. It's nice though. Like, some companies, like a lot of their team activities revolve around going to a bar or a pub and having a few drinks. But like a movie night, that's unusual and it's nice. It's refreshing to hear that there are companies out there that are thinking, doing different things to include everyone that maybe doesn't want to necessarily go and sit in a bar and drink a load of beer or
Yeah,
wine.
absolutely. Yeah, and exactly that. It is all about like trying to include more people into the activity. So it was movies, like the months before we went to I don't know, like a street market or something like that.
Oh,
Like a
nice.
board games, and yeah, it's like things that do not necessarily involve any kind of alcohol or
Yeah.
related activities. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Brilliant. What's the best bit of career advice that you could give to our listeners? Like you've quite quickly moved into a leadership position, and obviously you've been introduced to tech at a young age by the sounds of what you said at the start. And not everyone has that opportunity or is exposed to that. I mean, like, I'd say that's definitely changing now. I mean, like, for example, my son's 7, and I send him to coding club every week. But there's a lot of people that are in your kind of shoes, or aspirational CTOs or CEOs, and had struggled to kind of work the way up. So, yeah, what kind of how would you say that you've done that differently, or what bit of advice do you think you could give to others?
I think one of the most important things, and I actually given this advice to a few people, and I think it's in a certain way helped them, is just like believe in yourself. Some people have this fear that, I mean, one of the questions like you had, it was about like imposter syndrome, right? Like it happens,
Yeah,
it's real, it is real, and a lot of people have it. A lot of people fear that they will be judged on their, like ways, skills, whatever, anything, right? And
yeah,
they just kind of don't really don't apply for a certain role or don't pursue a certain opportunity, which maybe would be their like a life changing opportunity. So I think that that is the most important thing, is just to believe in yourself. Like don't afraid of like taking risks. Don't be afraid of taking risks, and pursue what you believe, like what you love, believe in, and so on. So yeah, that I would say, and if that is in place, the rest will come, right? So you can learn new skills, you can learn new language, you can read a bunch of books, but if you just have this internal fear of being, like being judged, then yeah, like you probably won't be able to progress
yeah.
further in your career.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely agree. It's a tough one, isn't it? And there's so much imposter syndrome out there.
Yeah.
I know I suffer from it, but you do have
I mean,
to
same. Yeah.
try, push it, like, and just have that faith that you can do. As long as you're trying your best, it's
Yeah.
all you can do, isn't it? So it'd be really interesting too, because you're in an interesting position at the minute within Clue, aren't you? In terms of you going through the your crowdfunding stage.
Yeah.
and I believe there's 7 days left at the minute, so I'm
7
hoping we
days.
can get these podcasts out there just in time for you. I think it'd be really interesting to talk a bit more about, and something that we talk about a lot here is that the values, your core values within the business. What do you live by? What values do you live by at Clue?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. So we have 3 values. It's care, courage, and connection. And I think those are lived by the Clue very much on, say, everyday basis and in case of major events. So I would probably
Yeah.
start with care. So we do care about our employees, about their well-being as well. Few perks we have in place at Clue that support that. So, for example, we have 4 days work week. People have
Fantastic.
Friday. Yeah, it's actually company invests like 8 hours on Friday into say well-being of employees. So it's not a meet and free day. It's not a like shortened contract, or like we don't ask people to work more on 4 days before. It's actually like 8 hours that like we don't expect you to produce any outcome unless you want. And that helps. I think that also one of the main USPs we have for to
Yeah.
attract new candidates. So that's amazing. We have like personal budget that people also can spend on themselves, like go to like buy a meditation app or like go to sauna and so on. um, that's care. Care it also manifested in a way. I mean, unfortunately, in the beginning of the year, we had to reduce our workforce by almost 25%. So few of
Really.
like, yeah, we had to say goodbye to a few of our colleagues. But I think also
Yeah.
like the way we've done it, I truly believe that was uh, again, if not unique, but one of the few how it was done in the industry. So it was like very respectful. Like I mean, you can read actually on LinkedIn. Our VP people, Sarah, she wrote an article, "Humanity of Layoffs." So the way we communicate, we spoke with people, the way we supported them through the process, and even after, like introducing them to different companies and so on. So that
Oh, that's
actually,
nice.
yeah. So
Yeah.
courage. I think courage also manifests in a lot of actions and activities at Clue. One of them, I would say that I think it was 4 years ago when Clue is a small startup. They
Mm.
decided to pursue FDA certification of digital only contraception algorithm that no one in the industry had. Like no one had an idea how to get this FDA certification, what
Mm.
required for it, what are the challenges and so on. But yeah, they just pushed through it. We got this certification in 2020, and yeah, we launched in 2021 we launched the first fully digital contraceptive method to the market. So currently it's in reworks, but the
Mm.
fact that we've done it,
Yeah.
that kind of
Fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah. Amazing.
or last year, sorry, we decided that to rebuild our legacy platforms, like client platforms, both iOS and Android, sort of faced certain kind of resistance from the team, partially from the board, but we were able to convince everyone that that is actually like a good way and like the only way to proceed, and we managed it. Like team kind of stood behind it, and we were able in a year like modernize both of our platforms, launch them, yeah, and prove that we can do it. And connection, I mean, connection manifests in a lot of things. Like we, as I said
Yeah.
before, connection,
Fantastic.
collaboration, yeah, that's there.
Cool. Fantastic. Brilliant. And if you I've got a good question actually, that's just come to me. Um, if you were to do it all again, last
Mhm.
3 or 4 years, your CTO role at Clue, what's your biggest lesson that you've learned? Like, what would you do, or what would you have done differently in hindsight?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's an interesting question. That I actually like. I keep asking it myself, like from time to time, like what I would do differently. Um, I joined um, quite mature company. The moment I joined
Mm,
Clue was out there for 10 years. It has its own ways of doing things. Its culture that, was built over this past, say, like 10 years. Um, and
yeah,
as a newbie, I think I approach certain things in a manner that, okay, I need to figure out how the things work and maybe like how to slowly bend them in a way that I need. In hindsight, I think that few things I might have taken a bit more radical approach to that.
mm,
And our CPO, she started a year after I started, so that was my learning. I
yeah,
said to her, I was like, "Don't be afraid. Like I'm here, like to support you. Like let's not wait. If you think that certain things need to be done in a certain ways, let's just do it and no way." So
mm,
that I think would be my kind of learning. I would tell to myself if I say traveled back time.
yeah, yeah. Cool, fantastic. Would you class yeah, actually, I'll rephrase that. How would you describe your leadership style, being CTO of the business at Clue? How would you kind of, warts and all, like, how would you describe it?
um, I'd like to believe I give a lot of autonomy to the team, like
Hmm.
really a lot. So a lot of things they free to decide on, like what kind of um, architecture we pick.
Excuse
Bless
me.
you. Um,
Thank you.
or
I'll have to get that
what's
ironed
like
out.
what's development methodology they use like within the team and
Yeah.
like many more. So I think I give a lot of autonomy to my team, but I also ask for accountability, and I'm quite, I mean, not strict, but I just
Mm,
don't like when people like kind of asking for responsibility and when given like they don't hold themselves accountable for the
mm,
responsibility they are given. So I think that if that is there, team has like all of the freedom basically they can have,
yeah.
and I
Mm,
think that um, I mean few of my team members they progress further in their career. I never like I'm not trying to block them or anything. I usually
mm,
like very supportive, yeah, like very helping. So yeah, um, if if people are accountable,
mm,
if they have passion, then yeah, it's
yeah.
they have like full success in my teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm
Fantastic.
not micromanaging. I'm not like going into like nitty gritty details.
Yeah.
But I'm asking for, if task is given, then like results should be, or if something is failing, like it also should be somehow brought up, and like everyone should learn from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right, in terms of that accountability piece, that doesn't necessarily mean you're micromanaging or getting into the detail. And accountability, it can work both ways as well, can't it?
Yeah,
Like it just gives structure as well. And then from one meeting to the next who's accountable for what. And you've
exactly.
got measurables then in place, which I think is really important. Um, Cool, fantastic. How I think one thing that we've not really touched on, and it'd be good to sort of as we're approaching near the end, to talk a bit more about diversity. How diverse would you say your teams are within the business? And
Very
obviously
much.
you're in Berlin, aren't you? And I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
where most of your workforce are, but it does gives you a bit of an advantage to be able to create more of a diverse work team. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know more about that.
I think teams are very like diverse too, and it comes. It's not just gender or nationality. It's it's generations of cultures, like different cultures, different experiences, right? So if you have people only from say hyperscale companies, you missing out something that people who worked in a smaller, more sustainable companies have, or like in a bigger corporation. So I think in general, diversity on all the vectors it potentially could take, like we have it, yeah. And I think honestly, recently I actually started thinking like the most prominent one is like a generational diversity. So there's like younger generation of developers. They used to do things in a like a different way
Yeah.
than more kind of like older generation, like an old school. And this is also very interesting to see how it works together. Um, yeah, like, and actually like inclusivity there is like a much more important like aspect of this whole thing. So how can you ensure that everything is actually, you know, works with like works together, like all these different like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
factors.
Fantastic. Brilliant. And lastly, before I let you go, do you feel that having that diverse and inclusive culture within Clue, do you think it's had a significant impact on the culture within the company, and if so, how has it?
I think like here's where I think Clue is very unique on the market. I think it started as a very diverse company. I think it attracted a lot of great talents just like because how diverse it is and what kind of values we had. I also believe that
Yeah.
we were able to uh, sort of be recognized and loved by 11 million people who are using our product on a monthly basis just
Amazing.
based on that, right? So this is, I think, had significant impact on Clue as a company, as a business, and if it wasn't like that, I mean, we wouldn't be in a position we are. So yeah, it's one of the key factors for Clue success.
Yeah. Fantastic, brilliant. That's great. Is there anything else that you wanted to add, like real opportunity to, yeah, if there's any other kind of like value add, because it's all about sharing experiences, challenges, journeys with our listeners and viewers, and we have quite a lot of aspirational CTOs that do listen to this podcast, but also there'll be some of your peers and some CEOs and founders as well. If there's anything else you wanted to add, now's your opportunity. You don't have
Um,
to, though.
I mean, I can add one thing that I personally,
Yeah.
I think I learned over like two things I would add. Like one
Mm-hmm.
thing I believe for myself I learned over the years of being CTO or engineering manager is that it's not only about knowing processes or right architectures or like like being book smart, but you actually need to factor in people, like real people, and try to apply all your knowledge in the specific situations with the real people you're working with. So people are really, it's a key like factor that you need to consider when you do anything, most of the things.
And I think with that, you hit the nail on the head when you said about consistency, because that goes back to people as well. Like, you know, I think a lot of teams and businesses forget that, you know, they wouldn't be where they are without people, but it is something that you do need to consistently work on. It's quite easy, I think, for people to forget that. So, and you made a few really good points around that at the start of this chat. So.
Yeah, and the second thing, we're currently in the middle of our first crowdfunding campaign at Clue, which already actually like a record breaking. I think we have the biggest number of investors on the platform, either like over the lifetime or like last year. So, and this is honestly a unique opportunity to invest in the success of not just Clue as a company, but actually into the health of women or people. Yeah, exactly. So so it's running on CrowdCube platform. You can find a link either on my LinkedIn profile, or maybe we can do something in the podcast things like 7 days left. Yeah. 7 days left for this opportunity.
Yeah, fantastic. So for anyone that's listening to this, we're recording on the 27th of April. So there's 7 days from now to inquire with regards to investing in the crowdfunding for Clue. That's absolutely amazing, given where we're at the minute and the climate. Is to say that it's been your best yet. That's absolutely amazing. So huge well done to that. You obviously you know, doing a lot of the right things, which is fantastic. I'll make sure that I make a note of that as well. But thank you very much for your time, for sharing your valuable experiences and challenges. So obviously you've just mentioned LinkedIn. If anyone wants to contact you, reach out to you, find out more, or find out you know, or just want to have a peer-to-peer conversation with you, is LinkedIn the best way for?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn would be the best way. Yeah, LinkedIn would be the best way. I'm quite responsive, I'd say.
Yeah. Cool, fantastic, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Greg. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you, and thank you for having me again. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and I hope it will be helpful for people listening.
I'm sure it will. Don't you be getting that imposter syndrome. It will, definitely. Thanks for listening to our latest Let's Talk Leadership, the Culture Edit Reloaded podcast. If you are a leader interested in being on the hot seat, contact me via LinkedIn. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Take care and see you all soon.